Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another episode of the After Action Podcast. I'm your favorite veteran with the sign, Zachary Bell. Today, we're joined by someone who's very close to me, someone I've known since I enlisted in 2007. His name is Brian Archer. Brian was someone who I've always looked up to for a long time. When I first met him, he was 22 years old, and I was 18, and he had voted, and he had done things I'd never even thought about. Our friendship has gone way beyond our time in the military, and he's a very important part of my life. He's Uncle Ace to my family and my friends. Please welcome to the show, Brian Archer. This episode was sponsored by Medical. Every veteran deserves respect, competency, and clarity when pursuing a disability claim. Of course, we all know the frustration is much more common. If you're looking for a better path and documentation that strengthens your disability rating request, start with our sponsor, Medical. Re's team of professionals work with a network of experienced physicians, and they've already provided meaningful medical evidence for more than 25,000 veterans. And while they can't guarantee what the VA will decide, 95%, let me say that again, 95% of their clients reported receiving a disability rating of 70% or higher. That's because when you connect with Medical, they take the time to explain your options before you pay for anything. Free consultations. So don't give up on a stalled process or settle for an unfavorable decision from the VA. Cut through the frustration with accurate medical evidence and a streamlined approach that allows you to pursue your claim confidently. Head over to remedical.com, that's Romeo Echo Echo medical.com to book your free consultation. Check out our link in the podcast section for more details. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the After Action Podcast. I'm joined with one of my best friends in the entire world, someone who's known me longer than anyone, Brian Archer, a.k.a. Ace, Uncle Ace. Ace, man, there's so many nicknames.
There is. Ace. I
Ace.
like Ace.
Ace. Ace is a good one. It's your defining moniker.
Man, it is so good to be here.
It is, right?
I feel like I've been traveling here all day, because I have.
Yeah.
We landed.
Man,
it is so good to be here.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's good to see you. It's good to be back in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Man, incredible.
Yeah, it is. And what I like about it is we don't have many traditions we do have many traditions in the Bell household, but one of our favorite is Halloween.
This is the longest family tradition I've been a part of, including my own family. This is the most consistent thing in my life.
Yeah.
Is Halloween with you and your beautiful family.
It is. It's I think our best one might have been the
Yellow Brick Road or Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
I think it was the Wizard of Oz.
That was a Disney style production.
It was, yeah. So I'll find the photo and
I got a couple, yeah.
But yeah. We get close to the mic. It's a little bit like about a hand fist.
Joe.
No, it's all right. You're doing great. Push the mic to you. It should feel like almost like
on my mouth.
Yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. Holla at it. You know what I'm saying?
Like, so wherever your mouth is at is where you want to be. So you're gonna be turning towards.
Oh, okay, yep,
Yeah,
okay, yep.
yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Oh, that's good. Yeah, mine as well.
Yeah.
I felt a little.
I said one thing. I said, "Don't embarrass me. Embarrass me for applause." You know how big of a deal it is. All right, let's start from the top. 3, 2, 1. Don't say anything about Kanye. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to another episode of the After Action Podcast. I'm joined with one of my closest friends and confidants, Brian Archer, Uncle Ace of Spades. I mean, the one, the only
Ace.
Yeah.
Man, it's good to be here.
It's good, dude. It's
Man,
good.
it's good to be here. I love Nashville. I love you.
Yeah.
I love traveling, and that's what I've been doing all day.
You have.
And we're here, man.
We're here. It's crazy. Here, and it's, when I started thinking about this and all the stuff I want to do, you were one of the first people I was like, it's on site,
Wow.
Because we've just known each other so long, and we have so many memories that are tied together. I mean, beyond just my time in the Marines, I mean, one of the things we do every year is we get Uncle Ace and the Bells. We do our
Halloween.
Our Halloween. We do our Halloween. Yeah. It's the best.
It's the longest running tradition in my life, including stuff I do on my own, with my family, with my friends. Yeah. Halloween with the Bells is the most consistent thing in my life.
Well, it's great. And our best one, which I'll find the photo and we'll add it, but our best one ever it has to be
The Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz.
Hands down.
We all got in character. We all had a role. We were even on a bridge.
On a bridge. It looked like a Disney set. Everyone was dressed up, makeup to the max. Our dogs had costumes.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
It was. I went to a place when I was the Tin Man for a little bit. I was like, if I was metal, how would I act? And I went there, dude. I found it. I didn't think it was gonna happen, but it
A
happened.
little method acting in there.
Yeah, dude. And you were a scarecrow.
I was.
Yeah, I felt your fear.
Oh, yeah.
I felt, you were like, where's the brain? I was looking for a heart. Is that what it is? I was looking for a heart. You're looking for a brain. And like, it's just
Still
fun.
am.
It's same. But of all the things we looked for, it's been funny. Our lives are so intermingled. Of all my friends, you're the one that's always around. Like you're the favorite. Like the girls have been talking about. They're like, Uncle Ace is coming to town. They're getting hyped up. They're doing like jumping jacks and stuff. They're getting ready. It's a big part of their lives. But before we get to that, let's talk about where it all began. Tell everyone your name, your social, and your last four, and where you're from. If you just look right there, and we'll take that. No, but where's Brian Archer from? Where does the story begin?
Oh, man. The story begins in Torrance, California. That's where I was born. I did most of my early growing up on Camp Pendleton, California. Went over to Spain, did some living in Spain for a couple years, and I did most of my growing up from middle school to high school until I enlisted in Central Virginia. So that's where I say I'm usually from, is Central Virginia.
What was it like living overseas?
It was pretty incredible as a youngster. I must have been in 3rd or 4th grade at the time. So old enough to remember, but it's just, not old enough to get in any kind of trouble or anything like that. But it was really cool. We lived very close to the beach. It was Rota, Spain, very close to the beach. We went and saw castles and cathedrals. We traveled around a little bit. So, for the whole year and a half, 2 years that we were there, for being a military family on a military budget, we actually got, a good dollop of world experience. And
A good amount of exposure.
Exposure, man. It was awesome.
It's really the thing they sell you on in the military initially.
It is. And, credit where
they-
credit is due. My family did it right. We stayed out in town. We didn't stay on base.
Yep.
It's very authentic. We got our eggs from the local farmer, fresh every day. Ate dinner very late at night. I usually, was asleep, but they all ate at 10, 11 o'clock at night.
That's a Spain thing, right?
Very cool, man. Yes.
Because they do, what is it called? They do like tapas
Yes.
throughout the day. So like you're snacking. Is that what it is? You're like
Delicious.
You're just eating You're eating apps.
If you haven't had chorizo or the calamari, man, from Spain, man,
I haven't.
it's worth the trip.
It's worth the trip.
Across the pond. They
Really?
got some great food, man. The whole Mediterranean, right?
Yeah, and they also have like the most like longest lives, like all this crazy, not crazy stuff. That's actually they have the lowest issues with like family issues,
100%.
mental health.
Yep.
Because like what they like eat apps all day,
They eat clean.
eat clean.
They don't eat a lot.
They don't eat a lot.
It's mostly whole foods, right? Not a lot of processed stuff. But the people in the Mediterranean, man, they live with a lot of purpose too, and they know how to take it easy. There's a stress-free environment that's incorporated into the lifestyle.
And they stay up like all day. I mean, they stay up like really late, right? And like they don't start work till late or something like that.
That I would be lying if I said I knew for sure.
I feel like it's something like that because when I was in South America, they told me it's kind of like that in all like countries that are like predominantly Latin.
I believe it. I believe it.
So how did that work with like a military family? So like everyone else is on military time, but then you're out there just eating tapas all the time. God, what a way to live.
It's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So then you come back and you're in Central Virginia.
Central Virginia, moved to Charlottesville, and then we moved out into the county into a place called Lake Monticello. And I did all my middle school, all my high school through there. I left after high school to go to a Christian internship based in Texas.
Yeah.
I did that for about a year. Then I moved back to Virginia. I did this, I did that. I dabbled in a few different occupations. I dabbled in ministry. And then I decided to go ahead and make the best decision I ever made. Join the Marine Corps.
Semper Fi.
Semper Fidelis.
Buzz always likes to say how long it takes till we get to Marines talking about being in the Marines.
I'm going to say it, I don't know, about 1,000 more times.
Yeah. Well, we made it under 10 minutes, which is a new record.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. So before we get into that, I want to know like what was Brian Archer like? I know Ace.
Oh man, you want to know what I was like before you met me?
Well, high school, like how were you moving? I have ideas of you in my head. I don't know if they're accurate.
So I was not a part of any particular crew except for really like the Christian crew.
Yeah.
When I first started going to high school, I played basketball a lot. I skateboarded a little bit, but the big local church in my area held youth events. And I started going to those because that was the thing to do. We had upwards of hundreds of kids coming in on a Friday night to, do worship and take part in these little skits and all kinds of other, things. It was late 90s, early 2000s at the time.
Were you watching Bible Man and stuff like that?
No, not like that. I mean,
that's a little younger. But me and Evan, who's just here, we were talking about. He sang the Christian song, "I am a C, I am a H, I am a RISTIAN."
Oh man, that sounds so vaguely familiar.
I know he like went word for word, and like I was shook. I was shook like the voice of the Lord came down, and I was in my upward shorts and my Awana vest, dude, just like everything.
I stopped going to church when I could. So
Okay.
I grew up in the church, my mother especially.
It's very
my
Southern.
grandmother, we're going to church. And about, was it 13, 14, 15, I stopped going, and I was a little rascal back then anyway. But when this youth event started happening, I started attending that. And then the youth leader of that, this guy, Chris, he was a few years older than me. He really kind of took me under his wing and mentored me because I was pretty purposeless then. And I actually got involved in that ministry. I ended up leading the ministry a few years later. And that was amazing. That's where I learned to really do public speaking. That's where I really learned to start teaching, preaching. That's where I learned to kind of just be myself. Just kind of be able to be a little eccentric, a little out there, a little just free flowing. But again, for a purpose, which was great, and it gave me a lot of purpose. And that's what ultimately fueled me to go to that internship in Texas.
Where was that? Do you want to say?
That was the Honor Academy.
Honor Academy
in Garden Valley, Texas.
Okay. Where's that? Garden Valley.
Just outside of Tyler.
Tyler. So what is Tyler, like Austin area?
So we're talking about 45 minutes from Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Okay.
So
I don't have any real reference. I know
East
like
Texas,
Dallas.
East Texas.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That place ended up not being so great.
Okay.
A couple years later. Like many big things, whether it's a business, whether it's a ministry.
Yeah.
The money gets tough, and I think I don't know, but I think that it got tough for them, and they ended up closing their doors. And I think a lot of the alumni kind of no longer associate themselves with that. I know a couple of my friends took it off of their resume. But
that's kind of the answer then.
But they did teach me a lot about character and a lot about integrity and other things. And
so is it like a Christian school?
It was an internship. So if I'm being super critical, it's a workshop for kids who are trying to be good. Because you go there and you essentially work for this ministry. Not even for free. You pay to be there, and you do take some classes from some pretty, some like keynote kind of people. But you're working a full-time job. I was working in this place, basically getting in touch with youth pastors and senior pastors about taking their church on mission trips. So I was cold calling people and like doing all kinds of wild stuff as a 18, 19-year-old.
Oh my God, everything's becoming clear to me. That's where Ace started to develop. You didn't even know it yet.
Probably
your outgoingness. I mean, you've always had, the kids call it Riz now, but you've always had it in spades. Well, I guess that's why it's Ace. But like, it's always like you've always been wise beyond your years. Like to a point where I would always. We'll get to like the first time, but like. It's always fascinated me. But when did you graduate high school? So I need to like build a timeline in my head.
4 years before you.
4 years. So 2002.
Yeah, 2003.
2003. Okay.
I meant to say after, and I messed that up.
It's all right. It's all right.
I was gonna pretend like you were older than me.
I'm not. I look older than you, but that doesn't matter.
I graduated 03.
So you graduated 03. 06 is what mattered. So then. Dude, you know it is, boss. Come on, man. Dude. 06. Remember that was like a big thing?
Oh, yeah.
Remember how big of a thing it was to be like, when did you graduate? And you're like, 06. Or like, everyone's like, 5. Like, I hated that. Even though it was big at the time. I remember everyone being like, oh, it's a big deal. Like, when you graduate high school, then it happens. You're like, no, it's not.
It's not.
It's not. But, I don't know. Maybe it's bigger now with social media. Maybe they make videos for it or something. But then we were just weirdos posting on MySpace. But no, so you're there, you go do this internship, And then when do you decide to enlist?
It was about
Like
a
what
year.
was the push to that?
Again, this is strange, but I guess it came down to purpose. I had just gotten back from Africa. That was my first time going to Africa on a missions trip.
How was that?
That was incredible, man. That really is what propelled me to join the military.
Yeah.
The Civil War in Liberia, Africa, ended
Gnarly.
in a bad way,
Mm-hmm.
and it was right around the time that graduated high school. So right around that 2003 time period.
Yeah, it was.
And that's when Charles Taylor was, kicked out of power. And our church, they went that very same year back then. So we've been going for a long time. I got the opportunity to go shortly after, and we worked very closely with the ex-combatants. So these are the child soldiers. So if you've seen
Speak more to that. When you say child, like
if you've
literally.
seen the movie like Lord of War or Beasts of No Nation,
Yeah.
these are real depictions of what that area was like in that time. And so when I say a child, I mean a child.
Yeah.
I mean children younger than your daughters who are kidnapped, whose families are murdered, they have no choice, who are manipulated, coerced, or drugged into joining these armies, rebel armies, factions, and forced to fight. And you'll see pictures of children, holding a Kalashnikov, a AK-47. It's taller than they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it seems cliche, but it's not, man. It's a reality in some places of the world. And we got the opportunity to work very closely with these ex-combatants. Now, when the war ended, these children have now been excommunicated and ostracized from their communities.
Yeah.
They are not welcome back into the towns and villages that they came from. They're not welcome back to into their family. They're kind of a crew on their own, like the Lost Boys.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very terrible place to be because they have just committed atrocities and now they have absolutely nowhere to go. They have no hope. They have no future. And so there are camps in places that, for lack of a better term, collect these children and young men who have very little education also because they were snatched up from school. And school in Liberia and like many other places in Africa is not a human right. You pay to go. So poor education, tough to find food or employment or family or friends or anything. And so working closely with these people, it really was a culture shock to me because I, as a young, naive, hopeful, energetic, optimistic Christian, it's like, oh, well God loves you and everything's better. And
Jesus, yes.
And they're like, yeah, but this is what I did,
Yeah.
and it's horrifying crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do I preach hope to this person? How do I teach grace and mercy to this person who feels like they have none and who I am too shocked to even say, well, God will forgive that because I don't know, right? So when I went back home,
what year is this?
This is I would have just
5,
be turning
6.
21, so this is about 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's still happening. I'm just trying to like paint this wasn't like the 80s or 70s. This is very recent.
Those camps are still in existence.
Yeah.
I just went to one this past year. There's still trauma. There's still healing that needs to be done, and there's still hurt that needs healing.
But when you'd seen it, I mean, not seen it. When you got there, I mean, I can't imagine it because I'm sure you had this idea of like we're going to like a mission church, or we're gonna do a little outreach, play some soccer and stuff. I've done mission trips as well, but not in a place like that.
It was a couple years after the war, right? But still, when you go to the bazaars and the markets, there's still shell casings all over the floor, like gravel,
Really?
all over the place, all over the place. Insane, man, absolutely insane. It's like I said, it's a culture shock. It's a reality check for how some people have to live. When I came home, I settled back in, kind of like what you do when you go somewhere. Oh, I'll never do this again, and I'm always going to do this, and you make these checklists for yourself.
Yeah.
I came back home and I settled back in. I needed a job, so I started working at this bar restaurant. I'd never been a bartender before. This brand new restaurant opened. It was a little Italian place, and I went in and applied. And the lady said, "I have no reason to hire you except for I like you a whole lot." And she put me behind the bar that same day. And I learned how to bartend. I learned how to wait and those kinds of things. Now, earlier I said that I was a really good kid, and I was. I didn't drink until after I was 21. I was really kind of a goody two-shoes. So once I got this job, I kind of had a foot in both camps now because I was still trying to be, a morally straight person.
Yeah.
But also, I'm 21. I want to hang out with girls. I want to have fun. I like hanging out with the chef and the waiters and the waitresses after work, grab a couple shift beers and, play beer pong. I want to do that stuff too. So I had a conflict of interest of who I was.
Do you think, this is just a thought I'm having right now, do you think that coming back from Africa, seeing the realities of the world makes you be like, I kind of want to have fun a little bit?
That's a good question.
Do you think?
know.
Do you think that a part of you was like, whoa?
If it
I've
was
seen
a part,
what,
it was subconscious.
Yeah, I've seen. I kind of want to try stuff, right? Like not like it's, not like it's like danger or something, but like I have this theory that trauma is an incredible gift, but it's a curse, and so you will move throughout the rest of your life with knowledge of not only like what people were capable of, but like firsthand, like I saw this with my eyes. It happened during this time. Like there's things like I still try and work through. So I'm wondering if that was, this is probably me projecting it. Like that was subconsciously like, oh yeah, I want to drink, I want to party, I want to have fun, I want to live. Asher Roth was playing at that time too.
You're
like,
absolutely right.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
It's a good time for music.
Yeah, dude, it was maybe the golden era of music.
Early 2000s.
Oh, bro.
That's a good time for music.
It was. It really was.
All time is a good time for music. But
Not
that just really pops.
I mean, not now so much. Like Drake's just trying to release an album every other day, and they're too much in my opinion. But like everyone, it's just not. Then things were like made.
He's old,
with
right?
He's well, no. It's just I don't know. You can tell the difference between someone who makes something and someone who makes something from the heart is what I'm probably trying to get at. But I guess what I'm saying is like maybe that's what you were pushing toward. You know what I'm saying? Like you're like, oh, I've seen this, and you're the only person that's seen that in your life too, right? You've ever thought about that?
No.
Interesting.
No. Yeah, I'd have to say that's a really good point, and it could have been a factor, but I'd have to say subliminally because it wasn't a conscious thought.
Yeah.
But it came to a point where I was messing around and I was trying to be somebody in the day and another person at night, and I didn't like that about myself, and I wanted to. This is so corny, but be a part of something bigger than myself. Right.
Well, there's only one way to do that.
There's only one way to do that, and that's to shave your head and join the military.
Yeah, it is.
You want to talk about that, or
no? Yeah.
Just keep going.
You keep going, dude. This
pretty
is
cool,
yeah.
Pretty funny because I had a girlfriend at the time, and I knew that nothing was working. Nothing was fitting.
With you or with her or life?
All of it.
Okay.
All of it.
Yeah.
So I went home and I just made a decision. I'm getting out of here.
That's literally it.
I'm getting out of here. I took off my hat. I shaved my head. I came back to work the next day. She was so angry. I told her I was joining the Army because I was enlisted to join the Army at first.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, bro, that's when they were handing out like $30,000-$40,000 checks.
I was in the men's
yeah.
restroom with a fresh shaved head, and she knew we were about to, probably break up because I told her I was enlisting like now.
Yeah.
And it's so we're talking about this is 2006, so the wars are popping. The de-escalation in Iraq, if that's what you want to call it, but the ramping up for Afghanistan had begun.
Yeah.
And so she busted in the men's bathroom and she starts yelling at me. She said, "I hope you step on an IED." And it's pretty funny, man. And I'm just like, oh. So I left.
You know what you should have said?
Uh-oh.
Let's get married.
I tried that. We did try that.
You just like turn around and be like, come with me. And you take a knee.
She stuck around for a little bit.
Yeah.
I think you remember because...
I know.
Okay.
I'm not naming names, dude.
Okay.
Dude.
Old Twinkie.
Oh, no, I know. I remember.
She stuck around. She's a good sport. She's a good girl.
No, it's just such a funny thing to say.
Oh, she was upset.
Yeah.
She was real upset.
She was hurt in the moment.
So I went down to the Army recruiting office, and I had a great time, man.
Yeah.
And I did all my ASVAB stuff. I found out how stupid I really was on paper. Needed a lot of ASVAB coaching
BRIAN. Just come on.
They're like, bro. And I was in that office for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks doing a lot
real?
of paperwork. Yeah, man. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I was in there because I was just going in there sometimes just to hang out. And this particular recruiting office, all of the departments shared one building. So you had to go in the front two doors and walk right past the Marines, right past the Navy, right past the Air Force, and go to the Army.
It's one of those career centers.
Exactly.
Yeah. They're not around.
They had this guy, right? They had this guy come in that day, and he seemed like some guy that's trying to like hype things up even more than the recruiters. Probably on a was that leave that you get to go. He was like that.
Recruiter's assistant.
There you go. So he came in all hot. And he starts telling me about all this stuff that was going to happen.
Yeah, I bet
I didn't want to happen. You know, he's like, "Oh, we drink our face off all the time.
Yeah.
You can do drugs on the side. Like there's orgies." And I'm just like, "Oh, it sounds awesome for everyone except me, man. Like I'm not interested in that at all."
Yeah.
The only other thing that was a huge red flag for me was the recruiter at this point had pulled out this clipboard and he tried to show me all the federal holidays that I was going to get off. You know, like, oh, you're off these days, and you know, we're the government, so we get off all these days. But my dad was also in the military. He's a Marine, so
he is a Marine.
I knew that he was never home.
No.
He didn't get any holidays.
You guys are lying.
So I was like, oh, they're lying to me.
Yeah.
So shortly before I signed my final paperwork and went to MEPS, my mom had found out. She's not happy. I was not on speaking terms with my dad at this point.
Yeah.
But she had said like, hey, before you make any decisions, reach out to him. He did 23 years. He might be able to shine some light on something you're not seeing.
Yeah.
I said, fair enough. So I called him. He was upset. He was like, did you sign blah, blah, blah? And I said, no, I haven't signed anything. Because I called him and I was just like, hey, there's nothing you can do about it. I'm joining the Army. I already signed up, you know. And he's just like, okay, what, have you been to this place? I was like, no.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, hey, did you sign this? I was like, no. Did you pee in this cup? I was like, no. He's like, you haven't done shit.
Yeah.
So he's like, do what you want to do.
Yeah.
You know, at this point, I'm 21 years old. Do what you want to do, but do me a favor. Go talk to one of the Marine recruiters before you make a decision. I said, okay, I'll do that for you. And that very same day, I called the Marine Corps recruiting office. And a guy answered the phone. And I told him, like, hey, just, you know, I promised my dad I'd call you guys. And he tried to give me the runaround. Let's set something up. And I was just like, hey, let me shoot you straight. I'm driving into town right now. Yeah. I'm going to get a tattoo of a cross on my arm. And I've already been talking to Sergeant What's-His-Face in the Army office. And that's really where I'm going. I'm doing a courtesy call for my father, who was in the Marines, to call you. Little silence. And then he said, what are you doing for lunch?
Yeah.
So we met at Chili's. He's in civvies.
Yeah.
He orders a sweet tea. I order a beer. He says, scratch the sweet tea.
Yeah.
I'll take a beer too.
Yeah.
We sat and talked for about an hour. He didn't try to sell me a thing. And I changed my mind right then and right there.
What was it that...
The authenticity factor sold me, man.
Okay.
Absolutely. And just the demeanor, his presence. And it was at that point, it was a gut instinct.
That's very interesting because you'd grown up around Marines too.
And I have hated them for a long time.
Yeah. No. And so many different factors
I was not in the Boy Scouts as a young man.
Yeah.
I was in the Young Marines.
I know, they're the most adorable photos I've ever seen.
So, you know.
Yeah. You know. You know, dude. You're like that kid on TikTok who's like, excuse me, future soldier. You're talking to a future soldier of America.
So, trauma slaps early.
Yeah. But so you decide, you join, you head off to boot camp.
Right.
And then you come. Did you get recruiter's assistance? Is that why?
I did, yep.
So,
and it was an extended one.
You did. So let's finally, we can talk about me. So let's talk about how we met. So we met at the School of Infantry.
Right.
Which is, for any of you who don't know. No, so we met at the School of Infantry. In the Marine Corps, after boot camp, you go to a combat training course. MCT is for non-combat MOSs, military occupational skills. That's 21 days, right?
Yes, sir.
Stop me if I'm wrong. And then the Warriors go to what? How long did we do it?
3 years.
400 days, I think it was. It's 3 months, rough. No, it's
3
something.
months.
It's something like that. Doesn't matter. And that's where you learn your trade as an infantry rifleman, a machine gunner, mortarman, assaultman, or a tow gunner. And that's where we met.
Right.
And I remember meeting you, thinking you had lived a million lives. Right?
It's only because I was I was like 4 years older than everyone else.
You might as well have been a dad.
It was like me and one other guy were the only guys that could buy beer.
Yeah, and you know, you were a team player.
And for some reason, man, I just became real popular. I was so popular.
No, yeah, you were very popular, but instantly you became famous because they gave us our first liberty.
Right.
We're not gonna name names here, so I can't remember all of them. Let's just not name them. But you go out to Winston-Salem, right?
Right.
With a bunch of other Marines. You're gonna go see some ladies.
One other Marine.
One other Marine
To his home,
in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
which was hours and hours away from where we were supposed to be. Which
5 hours,
Yeah,
something like
right,
that.
so-
Something like that. Yeah.
is from the coast to the mountains.
Yeah. And he was really selling it. So his family owned a convenience store, and I remember he was walking around being like, "Hey man, you want some cigarettes? My mama owns a convenience." He was, "You want this one?" He's going to come back. He was taking a little bit of money. So I remember peeling off like a 20, being like, "If he comes back, it's worth it. If not, whatever. I've done dumber things for $20." And then you go out there with him, and what does he decide to do?
He goes UA, man. He just leaves.
He leaves.
He leaves. He doesn't tell me goodbye. He got his girlfriend. They got in a truck, and they disappeared off the face of the earth. And I had to be back to check in back at Camp Geiger.
Yeah, and you were stranded in North Carolina.
I had PFC money, which
Yeah.
means I owed everyone else money. I had no money. And I had no way of getting back. His family wasn't going to take me. Eventually,
They were in on it. They're like, "Don't go, baby, don't go." I don't want to say his name, but I can't even barely remember it. But they're like, "Don't go, don't go,
I
don't go."
remember it.
I don't want to have it.
He'll be all right.
Yeah, he'll be all right.
He'll be all right. But
I'm sure he tells everyone he was a sniper. Actually,
he was. Yeah, he was.
Is he still in?
was,
Did
Black
he
Ops.
finish?
No.
He gets. Oh, we can kind of say that.
Atwood.
Atwood.
Yeah.
Atwood. I don't care. Atwood left
He was a rascal, and the deepest, thickest
North Carolina.
Carolina accent.
Not South Carolina, like Charleston. You think about people with like
Molasses in their mouth.
molasses and like what is it? They have like pin. What is it called? Seersucker suits. They're like,
right.
"Welcome to Charleston." They're just like chewing on it.
Right.
He was opposite. He's like, "Mama got a convenience store," and then like he left, and I remember people being like, "Where's Archer? Where's Atwood?" The alphabet brought you two together, but the Marine Corps tore you all apart.
That rocked my world. I was so terrified I was going to get in so much trouble. And I do not remember the name of our staff NCO because we really only interacted with the NCOs in our squad.
They were good leaders, dude. They were good leaders.
We did have good leadership.
We had good instructors.
We had good war-hardened NCOs.
They were gnarly dudes.
They were.
Remember the one dude who got blackout drunk who like looked at us once and he's like, "The ground explodes over there," and we were just like, "What?"
That was the introduction that we all needed.
Yeah. No, he's a little fit to be tied, as they say.
When I got back,
But you get back. You were a celebrity. Like, it was a whole thing. Everyone was like, "What happened?" What? No one knew. There's like 3 cell phones in the whole platoon. I know we're all like, "Oh, dude, it sucks." But I remember you coming back and you had your little area and you were holding court. I have a very clear memory
yeah, you're right.
of you talking to everyone and you were like showering. And I remember thinking, "Man, this guy's cool as hell."
They called me the squad bay commander because
Yeah.
they didn't give me the leadership didn't give me a specific
No.
leadership billet, but everyone that was a squad leader or had a specific role in our unit, most of them came to me for advice.
Yeah, you were 21. You had voted. You had like so many things none of us had.
So they called me the squad bay commander.
I remember
It
you
was like
putting
the
on your
secret
dog tags,
leadership.
just talking about it, being like, "Yeah, dude." Then he left, and he just left. You were holding court like all that night. You came through, and you're like, "I guess I'm not in trouble." Like that was the whole thing because you came back and you were honest. Actually, taught me a lesson, being honest.
Hey, exactly. And the best thing that I took away from that was our staff NCO took me aside out to the catwalk and said, and he, gaslighted me with all this trouble I was going to get in. And he was like, "However, I asked about you and your reputation precedes you.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you have been saved by your past decisions. Your reputation has saved you. And that stuck with me for a very long time, because you're going to get caught, right? It's better to get caught doing the right thing than it is the wrong thing.
Yeah.
You're going to get caught.
And
do
that's
the right thing and get caught doing the right thing. So many better things are going to come your way.
and that's literally, I was like, that's Ace.
Mm.
That was actually, you were Archer then. You hadn't been given the moniker.
No,
yet.
that was Dunbar, man.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
Garmser.
we'll talk
Yeah.
we'll talk about that. But you were still, but you, everyone has their last name, but like Archer had weight to it,
Yeah.
right? I remember telling you about Christy, my wife, which it's funny because she talks about the day she first met. So she came in town on a weekend, a few weekends later, and she brought my cousin's car, and there wasn't a gate guard that she didn't feel she had to stop to ever. I'm convinced everyone thought she was like a colonel's daughter or something. She just didn't understand the concept. I get it. It's a gate. There's people standing there waving at you, saying, please stop. She just, she was just playing ludicrous and just went straight through it.
Oh, my
She
Lord.
couldn't care. But the way she tells it, she's like, you remember this? She's like, she came up to pick me up, blew past the gate guard, and then got out to come get me. And like right as we got dismissed, and I was like, hey, get back in the car. Get back in the car. Because it's a bunch of animals.
Hyenas.
Cat calling, the whole thing.
Hyenas.
And they're like, who's that Belle's girlfriend? Who? And you're like, Belle. And you're yelling. She goes, who's that? And I go, it's Archer. He's cool. It's all right. Let's get in the car. And then we went to the mall, and y'all met later officially. But
Right.
I remember that very clear in my mind.
We were some of the only guys that were dumb enough
Yeah.
to bring our girls on base.
The dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
Dumbest thing.
That's when Twinkie met Christy.
Yeah, they met. And the guy's like, yeah, they're chomping at the bit.
Just
They're like-
savages.
They're just
dude.
like this, like, if he doesn't treat you
Savages.
right, I'll treat you right. I'm from Ohio. We know. Everyone there's from Ohio. You ever been to New Jersey? It's just a bunch of dudes like that.
Yeah, just savages. Just
But
hyenas.
then we did that, right? SOIs wrapped. I remember them lining all of us out, then picking us up for the unit and thinking, like, dude, I just want to. There's a few people I want to be because we're both 11s, infantry riflemen. And we'd gone through this crazy experience. And I remember that one reservist getting picked up by a limo.
Right.
That was weird. But I remember getting picked up by all the Alpha Company people. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm going to 1-6. I didn't know anything. I remember I didn't know anything. And I just remember, like, you were on the bus with me. Langdon was on the bus with me. Gibbons Neff was on the bus with
That's
me.
right. Maha, Boston.
He was on the bus. Who else was there?
Knox.
Knox was there.
Dude, all those guys went to Bravo, man.
They did. And I remember my
Unfortunately, all of
heart.
us, we were a good, tight group, and not many of us went to Alpha.
It was me and you.
Right.
I think it was, like, literally.
Yeah.
And I remember them bringing us out, and they're like cutting us all up, and they're like, you and you go to Alpha, idiots. And then all of our friends went to Bravo, which couldn't have worked out better for any of us.
Truth.
But in the moment, you're just like, I just made friends. And then I'll never forget, as long as I live, walking with all my gear from SIF,
Oh, my goodness gracious.
getting catcalled and getting stuff thrown at us
Yeah.
as we're just literally getting.
It's like going into a maximum security prison for the first time. That's what it feels like. It's like,
Yeah.
there's 3 decks and people are
Yeah.
just hanging over it and screaming stuff.
Screaming at you.
And, half of them are drunk and they're spitting and smoking. And it's like, what
Yeah.
did I just do? I said that every day for the first few. What did I do?
The first year was rough.
What did I do?
Being a boot with all those Iraq guys was
That was rough.
rough.
I had just gotten off of a fresh and nasty Ramadi tour.
Yeah.
They were looking for fresh meat.
They were looking
found
for
it.
blood.
They were looking for blood. And
They were
found
looking
it.
for blood.
Yep.
And I just remember being like, dude, it's just the worst. And then we get put in different platoons. I get put in the worst platoon, third
Was it
platoon.
third? Yeah.
I got put under Lum. That was a nightmare.
That was a cult, though. You guys had a cult of secrecy around the trauma that happened in the tree lines that sparked curiosity from L Street to M Street, son.
It wasn't really that secret.
People talked about it, like what happened back there. And
Oh,
it
he
seems
just-
like he ran a tight ship. I'll just say that.
Yeah, the tight ship was him hitting people. Like that's how tight it was. He would bounce you off the bulkhead. That was. I remember him. I never knew a protractor could be a weapon until he taught a land nav course.
Oh wow,
He literally like put a dent in some kid. He just like popped him from across the room.
I like him.
Yeah, I know you do. Everyone liked him who wasn't there, but if he would like try to unalive a boot at least once a day.
He did. He did grab me a couple of times. I wasn't, with him, but
That was his thing. He was freelance.
He found me with some Nike fingerless gloves that I tried to pull, and he had my arm twisted all the way behind my back.
Come here.
And thank goodness for Staff Sergeant Kluke, who's like, hey, that one's mine. He's okay.
Yeah.
And he kind of released me, but I was like, he's gonna break my freaking arm off at the range, man. Like
Yeah.
I was like, what do I do?
Die.
He's a big guy.
He was big. He was big, and he was
He's real intimidating face.
Yeah, and he would just say shit to make you laugh and then punish you.
Right.
And
A true psycho.
yeah.
I love him.
Yeah, he's incredible. He would just be. It's funny. Anytime somebody would tell on him, I never told him. Aliras did, but
I remember.
a lot of people told him. He told him a lot actually, but
He got it bad.
yeah, he did. But like he would teach a class and be like, apparently some people don't like how animated I get. No one stopped me before and no one stopped me now. And then he went back to teaching a class. He goes, all right, motherfuckers, this is how we do land that. He just stopped the class to be like, fuck you, do it again. It was a crazy shit. I would just be like, and like me and Mike would talk about it and he'd be like, I don't know, kid, we just gotta keep our head down. Like that was the move. You kept your head down.
Really.
But we're doing the workup, we're boots, and then we do our first tour. I don't really want to talk too much about this because war stories are kind of whatever, not to downplay any of it. But I was there, you were there, so we both know. But I remember going through all this. You were someone I leaned on a lot, especially when I found out Christy was pregnant, and we deployed to Garmser,
Right.
and we're doing the thing, and we're doing like the acclimatization 3-week period or whatever.
Right.
And I remember you were the first person I told when I got traded because all those kids popped for drug use.
Right.
And I was like, hey, guess what happened? And you're like, what? And I was like, I got moved to 2nd Platoon. And the look on your face is pretty much the same as you're like, you son of a bitch. It was the craziest thing that happened because I went from the lowest to low
Right.
ever to like literally walking in a place where I was like Hercules singing I Can Go the Distance.
Yeah.
It was-
Everyone in Second Platoon had definitely had like a Maverick Top Gun ego.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
But it was, hey, we earned it.
Hey, daggone earned it. You understand?
I remember Ryan looking at me being like, what's your name? I was like, my name's Lance Corporal. He goes, that's fucking dumb. What's your real name? And I go, my name's Zach. He goes, cool. My name's Ryan. Just don't call me that during business hours. You get it? And like he slapped me on the back. And I was like, good to go, Sergeant.
Would you have Ryan, Maine, and White?
Yeah. Those were squad leaders.
Yep.
And Canner was my team leader.
That's right.
Mike Canner.
He's solid, dude.
Dude, incredible. They like invested in me. They taught me things. That deployment went by so quickly. I mean, and we were together all the time there too. That was what my memories of that deployment are just so weirdly lighthearted that it's hard to really describe and it doesn't seem real. But like,
Well, you know why, right?
why?
Lil Wayne.
Well, that's what I was getting to, right?
Dude, we had the Lil Wayne Dedication 3 mixtape sent to us before it was
Carter 3,
released.
the
We
Carter
were
3,
listening
yeah.
to it. Was it the Carter 3?
It was the Carter 3.
Was it the Carter Dedication?
It was the Carter 3.
Okay, the Carter. We got the Carter 3
Yeah.
before it was released. We were
Yes.
listening to it in Afghanistan
Tunchi,
before,
forgive us.
before
Yeah.
it was on the radio
Yeah.
in America, baby.
Yeah.
And shout out Tim Dunbar for that.
Dude, that one of the greatest moments of my life will be sitting in a room with you with a pair of headphones that have been busted,
Busted.
cups over the speakers,
Yes, sir.
Carter 3 playing, just being like, this is the best thing to ever happen to
Yeah,
music.
man.
Forgive us, Wheezy. But like, we would have paid if we could, but and just like rockets were coming in, we're getting shot at all the time, and it's like, Mrs. Officer.
Seriously, man.
Like,
Yeah. It was
lollipop, bop, bop, bop.
it was just it was a small Mental oasis.
Yeah, well, and it's just, and we had, 2 positions, all that stuff, and like
Right.
that deployment felt fun, right? It felt fun. We were always in charge of battle space, all those different things.
Right. The kinetic activity was short-lived, and it was all front-loaded. It was that first 45 days, give or take,
Yeah.
until we took the bazaar, and then after that, it was just
kind of weird,
grueling. A lot of grueling patrols, and long days, long nights, and horrible living conditions compared to the other deployments. I mean, we were literally living on the ground. No tents, no AC, no refrigerators. I mean, on the ground, just kind of
winging it.
What you think it is.
Yeah.
But man, what a great time.
Remember we set the playing volleyball.
Playing volleyball is just like jerry rigged it with engineer stakes and like that tape.
100-mile-an-hour tape and 550 cord.
Wow.
But it was simple times.
It was simple times, man. It was simple times. Drinking out of a well.
Yeah.
Selling anything. Just trying to make anything work from the MRE that didn't taste like an MRE.
Yeah.
Selling and trading stuff to get rice and chicken. I think at one point they bought that cow, right?
They did buy that cow. I remember that. I remember they bought the cow, and I remember stealing stuff from the mobile section.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Man, fuck those dudes. I don't give a shit about them.
I still have
the
some
one guy who
magazines.
talked. The one guy who talked about shooting the javelin. Do you remember him?
No.
He was in the mobile section. He was like, he would tell the story every time. So
Oh,
I was
Lord.
always at that point. Ryan had me shadowing him. I didn't know it at the time, but he was training me in everything. Like I'd be in there. He's like, "This is how you submit a pre-patrol report," and I was like, "Okay," I didn't know, but he's like, "Now you do it," and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, but I'd be in the COC and stuff, and him and Canner were like just training me up because I was going to be a team leader, then eventually a squad leader. But he would, this one mobile section guy would be like, "Well, they shot an RPG at me, so I shot a rocket at them," and I heard the story so many times. And Ryan looked at me once. He's like, "He has those monsters with M on them, whatever his name was," and I was like, "Yeah," and he goes, "I think we should get those." So, like, I just like went in there and was like, "Fuck that dude," and like we just drank them, and they'd be like, "Hey, tell me the story about shooting the guy with the RPG." He would like distract him. And I'm like over there like just like stealing it. He sucked. And he'd be like, "Who stole my stuff?" It's like, "I don't know. You should probably shoot a rocket at him," like because it's all he ever talked about. I was like, "I shot a rocket." He shot one rocket at one dude, and he's like, "It's like $70,000." Like,
jeez.
But we do all that, right? And then we come home, and then we go from boots to salt dogs,
Oh, my
and we're
goodness.
leading. Such an incredible time.
Yes, it was.
It's a complete reversal. It's the thing you live for as an infantry marine, in my opinion.
I agree. What you talking about? Stepping into leadership? Small unit leadership?
Not being a boot. Just
Oh, yeah.
not,
Oh, sure.
Just
Absolutely.
not being a boot.
Not being the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah.
Not being at the bottom of the hill that shit rolls down. Yes.
And then, it's the workup. They're like, you're going to the what was it? Iraq. That's what I said. They're like going to Iraq for 90 days, and then all that stuff. And then of course none of that happened. We're in Marja and everything. I don't want this to become like a Marja thing. That's a whole different thing for another
You were
time.
in Marja, bro?
Yeah, all right,
You're a real Marja Marine?
Can I help you?
God bless you.
You want me to sign something?
I want you to
Let me
sign.
sign something.
No,
So I have a lot of thoughts on Marja. The main thing is I don't like the way everyone says they were there when I know they weren't. That's number one with the bullet. I don't like how people see the video of the speech
the
walk.
Walgrens? Oh, my goodness gracious.
And they're like, "Oh, I was there," and I'm like, "No,
No,
you
you
weren't.
weren't.
It was Alpha Company.
Dude, you're preaching to the choir.
It was Alpha Company. I was in Bravo. You weren't there. You literally weren't there. You were in a different place getting a dumb speech that no one recorded. So, like, it's not my fault. Also, he was known for giving speeches. Y'all should have just, like, I would have accepted y'all coming over. It was a known thing. But my main thing about Marja is that it was so fucking bad the entire time that, like, towards the end, my only thought was that I hope it's not my fault.
Jesus.
That was my only thought. We took so many casualties.
Yep.
Every day. It was so
It was
different.
very kinetic. It was very intense.
And I remember being uncomfortable with how documented it was. That was a real thought I had. That, like, it felt like
With combat camera and CNN and that, or how do you mean? What do you mean documented?
there were always people there. Like, this is the Marines in Mars. It's all stuff like all the outside media.
I
Not
see.
combat,
Yes.
that, like, I was like, dude, we might not make it to tomorrow. I don't want you to fucking, like, it wasn't contact patrols, it was combat patrols every single day. The stuff we were doing is insane. I mean, like,
It was very kinetic.
we were both in leadership positions so rapidly
rapidly.
that like it didn't make sense.
It was a definite stretch and growing period, because that first tour was definitely good, like for getting a good solid bloody nose and just, okay, this is what it is. Marja was something completely different from that. And granted, each tour that a military member goes on is unique and different unto itself. And I like to say that every tour is different and every tour is the same.
Yeah.
However, that tour was very special in the fact that it was so violent. It was so every day. And we took a tremendous amount of loss.
Yeah.
Compared to what we were experiencing.
And that's what I'm saying. Like that was happening. There was like never a day where I'm like, we're cool. Like I remember, you know, I remember when we lost the Marines in my platoon. I'm not gonna.
No.
I don't want to do any
fine.
names
Yep.
here. That we're not doing that.
I'm not crying today.
No, and that's not to take away from it.
No.
Please look up all the names of the Marines that passed from Marja. They're all heroes. But I just remember thinking, I don't know. I just don't know. Nobody was, from my point of view, everything that we were doing was fucking insanely accurate, and we were doing everything we could within our power to control the outcome, but that didn't seem to matter. And I was just like, if I go, please just let it be me. Just don't let it take someone else. Don't let it cost someone else's life.
Yeah.
And well, that's just my thoughts on it. I still struggle with that, especially now, and as times come and gone since then, and the way people have lionized the whole deployment. And then the thing I really take the most offense with is when they talk about Marja, for instance, they're not talking about a thing. They're talking about me. They're talking about you, and they're talking about the Marines we served with, and they're a little too flippant and nonchalant about something that like they just weren't there for. And I try to understand that as best I can, but it's tough, hearing, that recruiters are playing a video from a moment in your life as a way to recruit kids.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a very common thing I hear now.
That's interesting.
And it's been happening since that time. And I know Gunny Walgren very well, and so do you.
Absolutely.
And to know that's just kind of, I don't know. I still haven't made peace with that. I'm wondering if have you?
Well, peace is a path, man, and you got to make it every day with others, with yourself. I have been a lot better about making peace with it since I've come to acknowledge what moral injury is, what these decisions are, what they weren't, and also not to ruminate about the past too much. A scab will never scar if you keep picking at it. So a little bit of both, man. Some of it is what it is, and it just stays in that place inside of you. And some of it, yeah, I've been able to make peace with it, man. But to be honest, like you just said, it's taken many years, and a lot of the peace that I have found has been somewhat recent. In the past few years, when I've taken a very active approach to self-care, for lack of better words.
Well, and it's very evident to see where you are now, but
compared to years prior,
years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, because then my enlistment came to an end, right? And I remember you.
And that was tough for you, man. I think where were we? Were we at 29 Palms? We had talked at one point. I think we snuck off base.
We did sneak off base at 29 Palms. We snuck off base at 29 Palms.
Snuck
Got
off base, 29
blackout
Palms,
drunk.
Well, I didn't. Man, we barely made it back the next morning.
Didn't get fucking caught. That's all that matters.
Barely made it back.
You know what? And we were legends.
But we talked that night at that pool hall, and you were, we talked one-on-one very intimately about, because you were really torn about wanting to stay in, but needing to get out.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, right?
We found out about my second daughter being born. Right. We were a month into Marja.
And your first daughter was still just a baby.
She was still just a baby.
And little Christy,
I
mean, walking away from that, man,
it was a nightmare.
I don't know how you're still I don't know how you're not two people. I don't know how that didn't tear you apart.
I think honestly, I credit her. I knew from the first moment I met her, there was something that was special about her and otherworldly.
And I'll back you up on that. You're not wrong. She is a special woman, as a lot of mothers are superheroes.
Yeah.
She is among those ranks of people. I love Christy so much.
Yeah.
And when I talk to her, it's funny. We have a group chat.
Yeah, it's like a
So
family group
we've
chat.
had a group chat with me, you, and Christy in it for
10 years.
since group chats.
Before group chats, yeah.
Right. So
it was just obnoxious. You were like getting multiple text
right.
messages.
And I
yeah.
didn't like texting Christy without you. And it's just easier it's all above water, because if I have to ask Christy a question,
well, she's got the answers.
She's got the answers. I just want to talk to her directly, and you can read it on your own time if you want to. And we've had that. 3 of us had that dialogue for a long time, and just getting to know Christy and your whole family along with you has been such an amazing part of my life, because like you just said, man, Christy is a rock. She is good for solid advice. She ain't gonna sugarcoat it for you.
No, she won't.
And man, you did land a real one with her.
I just knew. I know everybody is like, oh, whatever, but
and
like,
she's drop dead gorgeous, right?
She is. It's stupid that she ever.
She's beautiful.
It's stupid that she ever talked to me.
I told her that.
Yeah, no,
every
you did.
day. No.
You did. You used to be like.
I did not say that.
Used to be like, what's wrong with her?
That.
Did she get? Was she in a car wreck? Because she finds you handsome. Do you want to know one of the things that like really, one of the things that was very clear to me about the type of person she was she would call me. Or whenever we would speak on deployments, and she would we would do like this we had a system. What's going on with you? What's going on with me? And then like follow on actions.
Oh wow.
I mean, like, bro, you had to have a system, because like how are you? Blah blah blah. Because you want to try and get everything out in like the first 5 minutes of like to do items, and then work on like actually having a conversation. She don't know, and but the first thing she would always ask me is like, who didn't get mail?
Wow.
Who didn't get mail? And then she would go out of her way to send packages for other people, and didn't think twice about it. That's nothing we ever took donations for or anything. That came from like a special place in her, and like I remember thinking, "Fuck, dude, like how incredible that that's the mother of my children, that that's my wife, that's where her mind is, because she knows that like where I'm at, what's going on, all these things are happening, but she never blinked."
Man, and that's so intuitive of her, because getting a mail drop and then not getting a letter or a package or something is like not getting a Christmas present on Christmas morning.
Yeah.
A little bit, and it really stinks.
I think it's worse.
And for her to go out there and say who's not getting mail,
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that person specifically. We're gonna send packages out.
What do they like? Will they like this stuff?
She needs a superhero cape, man. She really is a real one.
No, she would. I never prodded her on it. I would never be like, I don't know, can we? I was just so taken back that she understood.
Right.
She understood what was happening, that I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Yeah. But yeah, if I'd say there was no version of history where I felt like continuing to have conversations like that with her. And I have no regrets on it, honestly, and my hat goes off to anyone who still does and is still served, but like I couldn't do that. But as my journey in the Marine Corps came to an end, yours continued.
Right.
And we were actually, I remember talking to you about doing the same package you did. So you decided to do an enlistment package where you re-enlisted and went to
re-enlisted for the 4 years, but also had a stipulation. They call it an OP4, operational forces. So a commitment to stay in an operational force, so in an infantry unit for that additional 2 years. Came with a little signing bonus as well.
Yeah.
So I did decide to do that, and then I stayed with 1st Battalion 6th Marines and did another tour with them.
And how was that one?
So that was in 2011 and 12. We went to the Upper Sangin Valley, and so this was a different one. It was not as kinetic, it wasn't as highly intense fighting every single day.
Yeah.
However, this is when we first started to get the Syrian snipers into Afghanistan. This is when you see the rise of ISIS in the Middle East, and so we were fighting a different kind of fighter. It wasn't the guys that were out there with the AKs just kind of doing pop shots and just really aggressively fighting you from a longer distance or whatever else. These are, in my opinion, more professional. A lot of sniper activity. A lot of ambushes. That's when I got ambushed a lot over there.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, and please do, because I knew that you were on it. So, and there were my junior Marines were on that too, who became seniors.
Right, absolutely.
I actually made it like not a job, but like I invested everything I could in like researching what was happening. And from what I can tell is that part of Afghanistan was basically a training ground for terrorists to then go other places. Is that what they were doing?
I don't know that for a fact, but it wouldn't
Like they were
surprise me.
using it as a place to like, this is what we're doing.
It was very deliberate. It was
Mm-hmm.
intense, and that's that's when I encountered probably the most loss, and that's when I encountered the most loss, and it happened early in the deployment, which really did something strange to my psyche, because for the first time in a long time, I didn't want to go on a patrol. I wanted to ghost patrol all of them. I wanted to put all those kids in a ditch, call in my checkpoints, and get them all home safe to their parents, man. I didn't want, like you were talking about, I didn't want anything to be my fault. I didn't want anybody to step on anything. I didn't want anybody to get shot. I was like, by this point, it's my third tour. I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Because I had, again, in Marja, the losses that were incurred didn't happen to my platoon specifically a lot. That was really a lot of your platoon.
It was my platoon.
So, in my third tour, that was my platoon. And, it slaps, man. It slaps different. And, but ultimately it was a growing pain, and I grew through it, and I got really smart. I got really smart with my routes. I got really smart with my communication. I got really smart with what's important and what's not. And it made me into a better leader, I believe.
Okay. We're just going to take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll talk about life after Sengen and what you're doing now.
Are we back?
Yeah, we're back.
And we're back.
And we're back. Okay. All right.
Shout out Norm McDonald.
Shout out
the
Norm.
late, great Norm McDonald.
Rest in peace. Norm.
Let's take a quick break. And we're back.
And we're back. Dude, this guy's killing me. All right. And we're back. No, so you're back from Sengen. You still have your contract.
Right.
You go where? You go.
We went to Germany for a UDP deployment. We
Yeah.
did some training over there with the Georgian Army and whatnot. Stayed over
Yeah.
there for a little bit. Came back to stateside, North Carolina. And then I got orders to South Carolina to be a marksmanship instructor. So I went down to South Carolina, back to Paris Island, South
Yeah.
Carolina. And this is early 2013. And went straight to the range. Started with a combat marksmanship training course, and ended up being a PMI and a PMI instructor. Towards the end there, I was the lead PMI instructor. So
Did you like it?
I loved it, man. It really polished my instructing style, my teaching style, which I believe has helped me in a lot of ways, just with speaking, presenting, and preaching, things like that. So it was great. It was also great for me to learn how to do other things except, high intensity
Combat.
training and combat.
Yeah.
And, so it was a nice way to round off, that part of my service or career, because it was different, but it was also the same. It was instructing marksmanship.
Yeah.
So, you're shooting guns all day on the government's dime. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so you're there, and you're there for a while. And
I was there for a while. I did the Table 2 stuff, which is fun. So the Crucible, dealing with your recruits, they're doing the live fire stuff. Then I was teaching a class, and one of the high up leadership was doing a tour, and he was sitting in the back of my class, and he heard me talk, and he was like, put that guy in the big classrooms. So they expedited me to the primary marksmanship instructors course, the PMIs.
Yeah.
And it did make me a ton of friends on the ranges. A lot of those guys are out there doing grueling hours for years waiting for that position, and that's that didn't fall light on me. But I was very, very fortunate to rapidly accelerate in the schoolhouse ranks for Weapons and Field Training Battalion, South Carolina, Paris Island, South Carolina. But it did two different things though.
Okay.
Because of that high intensity go from our infantry unit to a much, much slower pace in South Carolina. Not necessarily the hours, but the pace. It did something strange to me. The best way I can feel to describe it is if it's like you're ripping down the water on a speedboat.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden that speedboat kind of comes to a stop. And at first there's a moment of calm. but then the wake comes. And the wake for me, led to a lot of negative self-talk, a lot of substance abuse, a lot of late nights. I wasn't sleeping. And I ended up getting a job a short distance away bouncing in Hilton Head. I was like, I'm not sleeping anyway. There's an opportunity for me to make some extra money, and that's what I'll do. And that led me to kind of burning both ends of the candlestick, you might say. There's a lot of times where I would leave the bar, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, go straight to the range. You change into camis. You got to be there, about 2 hours before the sun comes up anyway. So go straight there. And then sometimes, on a back-to-back, I was just killing myself, really just not taking care of myself, doing anything and everything I could do to avoid the issues that were knocking and eventually banging at my door. Stuff from the deployments that I didn't want to think about, didn't want to talk about. And I just kept pushing everything down and down and down. And eventually, I just ended up not being in a good place. I was working a lot and doing a great job as an instructor and doing a great job at the bars. I became a bartender really quickly. They really liked me over there. And I wanted to people please everyone, I'm really good at helping everyone else on the airplane put on their mask without putting mine on. So I did that to a detriment. Years in, I was going home. I was drinking heavily every single day, even by myself. Like I said, a lot of negative, hateful self-talk. I really was just being addicted to hating myself and blaming myself. And things got worse. Things got worse. And I tried to ask for help a little bit. The first time I asked for help was in North Carolina, after one of our tours. And the first thing they said was, "Oh, you have PTSD, here's some Zoloft." And it's just like, geez Louise, man. And so I didn't want to keep going down that route of asking for help because I didn't like the help I was getting.
Yeah.
So I was finding my own help. I was finding help in superficial fun. I was having a lot of fun on Hilton Head, bartending, okay? It might have looked like I was having a great, great time because I kind of was, but, the man in the mirror at the end of the day was not okay. And, this escalated to the point where, you're drinking every day, you hate yourself, and you're playing with guns every day. And eventually, it all came to a head one night with, horrible breakups and this issue and that issue and that issue. And I've been saying, F it, I ain't trying to be here for a long time. And one night I tried it. And it rocked my world. And I didn't know what to do. So I confided in a staff NCO who had similar issues. And he said, "Let's get you the help for real." And I was so scared because I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't want to have a black mark on my name. I didn't want the guys, all the guys that are in the office and everything else to look at me like a weakling who couldn't handle my stuff. So,
because it's very real, and I don't want to stop you, and thank you so much for what you're sharing, but people don't really understand in the military, especially in the infantry, during this time, if you say, "I need help, I'm not doing well, fuck this, I don't feel good," you're done. Your career's over.
Yeah.
Right? And people don't talk about that.
They don't.
That's dug into. I remember we were boots, and there were a few guys who didn't want to deploy again, and the way they treated them has stuck with me till the end of time.
Like a cancer.
Yeah. I get the fuck out of here.
Like a disease.
We don't fuck you. You're not one of us.
You're not one of us.
They even made them stand in a different formation.
You don't even want to go to sick call if you're sick because you are a weakling and there will be a mark on you. Suck it up, buttercup.
Yeah.
Change your socks, drink some water, take a Motrin, and shut up.
Yeah.
Go do your job, man. What are you sad? You sad little girl? It's like, oh, shoot. Marie, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm the man.
To our detriment.
To our detriment.
Our eternal detriment.
So I took his advice, and I went to go get the help. And that rolled out into me having to, go away to get the help. So they sent me to a place, like a rehab kind of place, like 21 days or whatever it is. And you do that. And, I didn't realize it at the time, but really and not this individual person, but what the what the institution did,
System.
what the system did, was they used that as a way to expedite my exit from the service, and I fought it really hard.
Famously fought it.
And I was really, really upset because this is the exact opposite of the verbal confirmation I had that nothing was going to happen to my career. I was a 20-year guy. My father did 23. Strong military background. Both of my grandfathers were in. I really wanted to do my time, and my time was cut short because of my actions. And
I don't think that's the fair statement. Your time was cut short because of what happened. Asking for help, which resulted in it, right? Your actions were that you did the things you're supposed to do, and then they punished you for it.
Yeah, I've learned to accept a little bit of responsibility and look at the whole pie on this.
Yeah.
Because for many years, I was not doing the things that I knew I should or shouldn't be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll own up to not taking care of myself and put myself in a very bad position, and putting the system, like you said, in a bad position of not knowing what to do with me. And to all the friends that we have lost, by their own hand, maybe they are trying to cover their own butt and say, hey, let's get these, I don't know. I'm just kind of talking about
Well,
my butt
dude,
right
I mean, at that time, that was when it started. We're not gonna name names. That's not
Right.
this story.
Right.
But 2011, 2013,
Dropping like flies,
They
man.
just started happening, and it was indiscriminate. It had no pattern. There was nothing you can see. To this day, you can't really tell as they continue to happen.
And what's funny is, and I don't know if you'll remember this, and I say that kind of jokingly, I don't think we've talked about it a terrible amount, but you saw me on probably a Halloween trip.
Yeah.
You saw me, and you kind of saw, because you had kind of saw me from a bird's eye view, and said, hey, Ace, you're not going down the best path.
It was the wedding.
Was it the wedding?
It was the wedding.
And, you kind of very gently try to tell me, take it easy on yourself.
Yeah.
Things are not going to end well, if you keep down this path. And I took it really horribly, man.
Oh, I didn't
think
deliver it the best, probably.
We butted
fought.
heads.
We
and we
literally
fought.
Yeah.
Probably one of the only fights that we've ever
It is the
been
only
in.
fight
Was
we've
it?
ever had.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I left, and Christy came and got me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you had the sight and the fortitude to say something to me. And this, this is a long line of people, friends and family members who saw this stuff and tried to say, hey, chill. And I said, no.
Yeah. You said that a lot. I mean, everybody does, but
I'm okay.
yeah. And well, it's just at that time we started losing so many people, and I was also working at a nonprofit, so I was
You had your hands in it.
Dude, I could smell it. I could smell it on you, and it just became clear to me, and for me, it's I always wonder if it comes from a place of selfishness, because what I see is what I try to look for in myself, and then I've always wanted to help other people, because for me, I've found the best version of myself in the service of others, but it helps me to be accountable for my family and everyone else, being like, am I doing this? Am I moving like that? It's just, I don't have all the answers or by any stretch of the imagination, but when I see the things that are happening, I'm just like, dude, what the anyone can get it. But you were on this path, and you've been on this path for a while, and as much as you want to talk about it, when I started working with nonprofits, my whole goal was to disrupt it. Be like, hey, do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, do that. But you very recently have made this radical change.
Right.
And it's been awe-inspiring to watch. But, I don't know how else to say it. I'm just really proud. And I think it really started with the Shepherd Center.
Absolutely.
I think with 100%.
No, 100%. No, 100%.
As much or as little as you want to talk about it.
And
please.
honestly, credit where credit is due. It started with you, and it started with Travis, man. It started with the Shepherd's men, who had my back from day one. And like a dog with a bone in its mouth, would not let go, would not drop it, fought hard for me.
Yeah.
And I will never forget that. I'll never forget that. But when I did get to the Shepherd Center, thank God for you and the Shepherd's men who got me there.
That was Travis.
That's when I started getting the help that I truly needed. And
And the Shepherd Center is a nonprofit. They treat PTSD, brain injury. They have a military branch.
world-renowned
Yeah.
spinal injury
Yeah.
hospital, brain injury hospital,
Yeah.
world-renowned. And like you're saying, they have a totally separate section
The
for military members.
Yeah, it's called the Share Program.
Yes, sir.
And this is just for everyone for context. So it's the Share Program. And so what they do is they take people, you get assigned like a case manager, and please fill in. You live there, and it's your job to heal every single day. And they're like, you have a whole team, and they're like, what is Brian Archer doing? How can we help him?
Yeah. And
Start to finish.
It was tough, you know, and it definitely, it's like anything else. You're going to get out of it what you put into it. But this is the real deal place to get help. I mean, I have met with so many medical doctors.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was not in reality. It's like, why are you all here with me? You know, like I've been having all these issues for years and years and years and years. I barely see a doctor maybe for a couple of minutes. Now I'm in a room with three of them who are giving me individual attention, answers, guidance for hours.
Mm-hmm.
Just that really inspired me to do the right thing, not only for myself, but for all the people who were pouring into me. They deserved it to get the best out of me. And I really started to pay attention to how I talk to myself, how I talk to others. I really started to understand that what's going on with me is something that needs attention, and it can't just go unchecked. You know, I do have some issues, you know, some cognitive issues and some other health issues that need to be addressed in a different way. I say different as opposed to somebody who's completely, for lack of a better word, normal.
Yeah.
Right. So I know that there's certain things that I need to do in order to make myself my best self. You know, it starts with routine. It starts with diet. It starts with exercise. It starts with, you know, relationships, all these things. You put them together and getting that good routine, that morning and evening routine. I consider that my bookends, you know, big, heavy bookends that keep everything else in the middle straight and standing up. So really nailing that stuff down and having people there to help me understand the importance of that, understand the importance of thinking things through, and ignoring some of your first, you know, thoughts and trying to search out for what is the better one. It was just pretty incredible as far as just getting keynote classes, learning about emotional regulation, learning about, again, moral injury, relationships with not only with your family, with your friends and with your peers, but also with yourself. It's so incredibly important, and it really just, once I took it seriously, you know, it just bloomed for me. Like it just happened.
Well, I mean, it was known. It was known how serious you took it. So the program is very intense. People live there; it's their job. You know, 7 days a week they're doing it. I'll never forget being down there with Travis at your graduation,
Right.
and I mean, because you'd been trying for so long.
Yeah.
And it's not that you weren't trying. It's not that you didn't care. It was just, it's fucking hard. And when I saw and heard the way they talked about you, I think I'll carry that forever. It's also interesting to hear people call you Brian. That was a real thing, because I know you had lit people like into your life, which is like a rule. But to just hear, I just remember being proud and being like, I think he's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget it. Just like and it's not just that, and I don't give too much of this away, but like the way your classmates were like, you know, Brian was leading this, Brian was holding us accountable, and I was like, oh, he couldn't help himself.
Yeah, and that's true. I couldn't help myself.
He couldn't help himself. He had to lead those lost souls. Those dum-dums needed to be told what to do, you know. Those warfighters needed him. And it's just been, since that moment, there's been this radical transformation in you it's been awe-inspiring, because like it's hard. No one tells you what it's like. What post-traumatic stress is, and I have a very dumb definition of it, but it's all I can think of. I think it's true. To me, post-traumatic stress disorder is when you come to the realization that the memory of who you were is better than the reality that you are. It is almost impossible not to hate yourself.
Wow.
Because you remember, like, I used to be this, and now I'm this.
Right.
And this fucking
It
sucks.
sucks.
And then you're like, well, why can I not stop feeling this way? Why am I sad all the time? Why'd I punch this or whatever
Right.
it is
Yeah,
you're doing, however
seriously,
that's
yeah.
manifesting. Why am I stressed all the time? And like, it's hard to unpack that, but just to see you there and your mom's there and we're all there, and it's a moment I'll hold for a long, long time. But then it put you on this path, and to where like you've started to take serious the idea of taking care of Brian,
Right.
and that was the start that led you to another place,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Mexico.
Mexico.
Yeah, almost a year to the day.
Year to the day is when I picked you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I went down to Mexico with vets,
Vets.
Veterans Exploring Treatment Solutions.
Yes.
Incredible. Absolutely, hands down, incredible. They poured gasoline on the small fire that I started in Atlanta at the Shepherd Center. I took this self-help thing seriously. I put together this small fire, and vets poured gasoline all over it, man. And it was just amazing, the transformation that happened down there. And this is, before, the medicine or the roots, just the experience of being there, feeling like everybody loves you and cares about you. And also the traditional Mexican sweat lodge, the 3-hour breathing class, the 2-hour yoga and stretching classes. I mean, they were absolutely incredible as far as just breaking outside of your comfort zone and really digging deep into holistic treatment and healing.
Well, and it's something that is truly incredible, and I mean, there's a lot of people that I've gone. I went in 2021. Someone else we served with went as well. But
I'm so happy. Can I just interrupt you? I am so happy that you went. When I first found out that you were thinking about going, I think Christy and I said no.
You both said no.
This is the deep end of the pool.
Yeah.
How about you take a mushroom first and not press the nuke button on your brain? I mean, I was worried.
Yeah.
And I saw what it did for you, man.
Well, I'm the king of fuck it's. So like, yeah. I mean, I remember when they started talking about it. I'm trying not to make this about me, but it's been 10 minutes. I got to talk about myself. No, everyone's laughing way too much. But no, it was. So what it was that I had seen what it had done in other people, and the small amount of research I'd done, it just led me to a place where I was like, I probably won't get this opportunity again. Where I was personally, professionally, everything that was lined up. Jared Taylor from Black Rifle himself set me up and sent me down there. And, I went down there with some incredible people I'm still friends with to this day.
Wow.
And it changed a part of me,
Right.
like, that I don't understand. And then it felt like something I had to tell everyone.
Right.
And so I understand the hesitation, because it's literally talking to God. It's everything.
It's everything.
But I've never looked back. And it's put me on this path where I'm at now, where we're here now, where everyone's here now, and we're having this conversation. And all I can think about is how crazy it was that me and a bunch of guys, one of them didn't even have a leg. He was sneaking down to Mexico to go do some psychedelics to find a path towards healing beyond the battlefield. And the thing that I wanted most was to see the results in other people, because I just seen what it's done to me. But again, like, it's a year later, and the person that sits in front of me doesn't even look the same.
Wow.
In the very best way. And it's hard to really understand it sometimes.
Man, well, it's, gratitude through and through. I'm extremely grateful. I'm blessed, blessed to have you as a friend who helped set that kind of stuff up for me. I think there was even a couple roadblocks with that. I think the scholarship I was trying to get was for SF Special Forces only, and I said, Zach, I don't think they're gonna take me. You said, stand by, and then I got a phone call. Hey, Mr. Archer, welcome aboard.
It's called a board member that I know, but yeah, no,
I appreciate that, and
it's not me. It's the same thing that happened to me. Someone provided a solution.
well, thank you for paying it forward. Some people don't, man.
Well, I mean, I look at it like this: like, information in this space. There's so few of us.
Yeah.
We're fighting to just stay alive. We shouldn't fight over ways to heal.
Yeah.
And we need to be better about that.
We do.
And we're the fucking worst. We're the worst at it. We have such a family mentality about everything. If I start a company, you can't do it. If I do a podcast, you can't do it. It's incredibly fucking lame. I think it's just because people are scared to do a different idea and embrace failure. But failure is not really failure. Failure, in my opinion, is not doing something. Well, if no one listens to this, who the fuck cares? Like, or I don't. That's not my metric for success. My metric for success is that the idea I had during COVID to write on cardboard turned into something that's now to a place where we're here. Like, that's successful to me, to a place to where like we're able to talk about different ideas and solutions and things to help people find peace. Like, dude, we're winning.
We're winning.
We're winning.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think people need to embrace it more often. But like as you sit here now and you think about all the things that have happened, what's the biggest thing that you want people to take away from it? What do you want people to know about Brian Archer? What do you want to know about Ace? What's something you've learned?
What's something that I've learned about myself?
I mean, like, if you could think of something that you wanted people to like take away from this.
Lead with love. You know, do everything with love. Put love into everything that you can, and watch what happens, man. You know, it's love. You know, it's so simple, but it's not easy. And really, just leading with love is the most important thing that we can do for each other. So if there's one thing that you want to hear from me, love each other and be well. Take care of yourself. You know, when I'm a faith-based person. You know, I follow the teachings and I believe in Jesus Christ. So I follow the teachings of Jesus Christ. And some of the only things that he asks us to do is to love God with everything we have inside of us and to love our neighbor as ourselves. Now, I think that that's a very important part because it's very easy to love God. Well, I say it's very easy to love God and to love others. But he mentions as ourselves. It's important for us to love ourselves. How can we love each other? How can we serve and love a God without love for ourselves first and inside of us? It's very interesting. It's a very important part of those greatest commandments that he gave us. And I think as I learned to love myself more, I learned that it's so much better, easier, fulfilling, and fun to love others, man, to love my neighbors. And my neighbors is everyone, man. And
that's what you're doing now.
That's what I'm trying to do, man.
What's next for Brian Archer?
What's next for me? I would, so what I'm doing now is I'm exploring my own ministry. I've been preaching and doing some youth ministry stuff at some local churches back home. But I had something laid on my heart about a year ago. And then I immediately said, "Oh, that's great," and I put it in my back pocket, and I tried to put everyone else's air mask or mask on first. So I was convicted, and I said, "No, when you were asking God for purpose, he gave you this idea, he gave you this gift to start first to fight faith ministries." And so that's what I really want to pour my heart into. And so it's just an opportunity for me to help other people in whichever way I can, as far as helping them with their faith, helping them in prayer, helping them get resources, helping them plug into local resources that can help them in ways that's tailor-made for them. But for me, it starts with the power of prayer, because prayer isn't just all we can do, it's everything that we can do. So if you'd like to join me, or if anybody would like to join me, my ministry is real simple right now. I pray for our veterans in active duty twice a day at Reveille and at TAPS. So at 6:30 and at 9, I take a moment to pause and to pray for all the men and the women in uniform right now actively serving you and me, for all the veterans who have been there and done it, for all the family members and the friends who have lost loved ones, and for the souls of ones who have made the ultimate sacrifice. So that's what First to Fight Faith is right now, because we're a newborn baby ministry. And I'm looking forward to growing myself and growing this ministry in whatever ways God leads me to do. But it's definitely it's definitely serving and loving others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I said it's where I've found the best version of myself, and it's been exciting to watch you on this path because you reminded me of Ace back in SOI, the guy who could just lead a horse to water and then sell it to him and then buy it back and rent it to his grandmother.
There you go.
Like, you have this ability to connect to people, and I see it. It's been ever since Atlanta. There he is, and it's been exciting to see it. And I mean, I'm so excited for our Halloween costumes, and
Oh yeah.
and I'm so fucking proud
Oh yeah.
of you.
Oh man, thank you.
And
Wow. Wow, thank you, man.
I hope if anyone takes away anything from this, is that people understand that there's a path forward and that you are worth fighting for.
You are absolutely worth it. You matter the most. You are 100% loved. You are needed. You're cherished. You have purpose in this life, and there's purpose in the pain, and you got to keep going on, man. When we first got dropped off in Garmser, the fields were irrigated. They were wet.
They were.
So you just imagine walking through, shin-high mud with 150, 200-pound backpack on, machine guns, rifles, etc. And just walking. And I remember just getting to a place where I was so broke off. I don't know, like this guy, one of our machine gunners, I mean, he spiked his 240 into the mud. I mean, it was just a mental breakdown because you can't quit.
Yeah.
You just got to keep going. I remember at one point just saying, I can take one more step. Boom. Planting it. And I said, all right, well, I can take one more step. Boom. Boom. You can take, and I would encourage you, no matter what mud, no matter how much shit you're walking through in your life right now, you can take one more step. I would encourage you to do so. Dig deep, understand that right now things might suck. There might be pain, but there is purpose in it. There is a purpose for your life. There is grace. There is mercy that can cover anything that you think you might have done. And we need you here. So hold on. It's worth it. It really is worth it. And if you need help, go get it, because it's the best thing that I've done for myself. It's the best thing that I've done for the people around me. My family, my friends who are watching me rot. You bring life to yourself, you bring life to the people around you. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to others. Ask for help and get it. If you need help, it's there, it's available. Please find it. And if you don't find it the first time, keep looking. If you don't find it the second time, keep looking. If you don't find it the third time, call Zach Bell, because he knows where to get it. You matter. You're worth it. You keep fighting.
Keep fighting.
Keep fighting. And be well.
And be well.
Yeah.
I can't think of a better way to end it, so I dare not try. Thank you so much for being on here today. And thank you to everyone for tuning in to After Action Podcast. Thank you.